2 years ago, 6 Supreme Court justices, all nominated by Republican presidents, decided to overturn Roe v. Wade, abolish the constitutional right for women to have an abortion, and to give politicians in state government the right to control the bodies of women in state after state. This morning, we will be holding a hearing to take a hard look at how this Supreme Court decision, the Dobbs decision, has impacted women, physicians, and healthcare providers throughout our country. In a few minutes, I am going to be handing the gavel as chair of the committee to Senator Patty Murray, because given the subject matter, I think it's appropriate for a woman to chair this important hearing, and this is an issue that Senator Murray has been deeply and passionately involved in for many, many years. But before I hand the gavel over to Senator Murray, let me say a few words on a subject I feel very, very strongly about. It is no secret to anyone that throughout our country's history, women have had to fight for their basic human rights against all forms of patriarchy and sexism. No great secret. Women had to struggle, and some died, in order to achieve the right to vote, something which they did not receive until 1920. Women had to struggle for the right to get the education that they wanted all over America. Women wanted to go to this school, wanted to do that, couldn't get into the door because they were women. Women had to struggle to get banks to lend them the money they needed to buy a car or start their own business. In fact, up to 1974, banks in America could legally refuse to issue a credit card to a woman simply because she was a woman. Women struggled to choose the careers they wanted. In the 1950s, it was legal for employers to fire women for the crime of getting married. She got fired because she chose to get married. Up until 1964, it was legal for employers in America to reject a job applicant simply because the applicant was a woman. The struggle for equal pay, for equal work, continues to this day. In America today, women working full-time make just 84 cents on the dollar compared to men. And on it goes. Women struggling for their basic human rights. Then on January 22nd, 1973, after decades and decades of struggle, women in America finally won the right to control their own bodies as a result of the Supreme Court decision in Roe v. Wade. No longer would state governments be able to tell women what they could or could not do with their own bodies. And when we talk about the history of how all of these happened, let's not ignore the lack of political representation that women had. In 1987, not so many years ago, there were 2 women in the United States Senate and 98 men. Those are the folks all over this country who are making the decision. The truth is that men would not tolerate them being subject to government decisions regarding how they can control their own bodies. I am not aware of any state in this country that has ever restricted the right of a man to get Viagra or any other medication prescribed by a doctor. I'm not aware of any state in this country that has prevented a man from getting a vasectomy or any other medical procedure that men choose to get that has been approved by a doctor. You know, we hear a lot of talk about freedom in this body. Freedom to do what you want to do. And yet, right now, we are living at a time when half of our population or more has lost that freedom. And by the way, when I talk about the right of women to be able to control their own bodies. It's not just me talking, it's what the American people believe in poll after poll, in state election after state election. People are saying we may disagree politically, may disagree on this or that issue, but very strongly, the American people believe it is women, not the government, that has a right to control their own body.